is up, guys? Good morning. It is about 8:10 in the morning. I've been putting this off for a very long time, but I wanted to do another one of these. You guys really liked my last 24-hour challenge of breastfeeding. This time it's going to be a lot different, and I've been putting it off so much just because it's a lot of work filming every single breastfeed, and this video is going to be even more work because he eats solids, and I want to show you guys that. I bottle feed sometimes whenever I feel like he's distracted and won't eat, but he's hungry, so he's upset. Last night, I don't know what his deal is, but sometimes he'll like cluster feed as if he was like 2 days old, and he did that last night, so I didn't get to wake up at 5 a.m. because I was just so extremely tired. It's just a lot right now, breastfeeding. I wanted to give you guys a little insight on an update of how it's going. Sometimes it's really easy, so we'll see how today goes. So let's get into the video. We're about to have breakfast. Bubba's distracted, so I'm gonna talk a little bit. He is eating a spinach, cheese, and egg. He doesn't really like eggs by themselves, so we put a vegetable or cheese in it. I'm eating basically the same thing. I try to eat around the same thing so he sees that we're eating the same thing, even though he still tries to eat my food. And then we also shared some blueberries and yogurt. Honestly, baby-led weaning is the best thing that I decided to do. I was doing purees for a little bit. It was just really messy. He wanted to do it himself, and I figured, well, if he wants to do it himself, I'll let him do it himself. And we do baby-led weaning now. Don't make it complicated. Literally the most easy food to do are the best for your children. We also started some meat as well. I know choking is a huge scare, but Bubba has not choked. The only incident we've had is I gave him meat too early. So definitely just watch your kid for when you think they're ready, and he definitely wasn't ready and I misjudged it. So he choked at first and he wasn't making noise, but then he started gagging, so I was like, okay, because I'm just trying to get him out to do, you know, the proper thing. Also be educated on what you should do if your child does choke, and you will be okay. Also have your phone on hand, just watch them eat. Gagging is completely normal. Also, don't be hard on yourself or on your baby. They will learn. It's going to be messy, and at first I was like, Bubba is never gonna be able to pick up, but it's really good for them to work on their motor skills. Basically just have fun. It's not really to eat because their source of food is you still with your breast milk, or if you're doing formula, they'll get it. You'll be okay. Just do your research. There's no course that you have to take and pay $300 for. You can find everything that you need to find on YouTube. There's so many YouTubers that talk about it, or on blogs if you're a reader. I just wanted to throw this in here. I know it's a breastfeeding vlog, but we also do solids. This is technically our first feed of the day. Bubba's getting distracted, but I'm gonna quickly say this. A huge question that I had was, when will I know that my baby is hungry? They'll let you know. There's cues at first when Bubba was a newborn that he would suck on his lips, suck on his tongue, open his mouth a lot. He would put his fingers in his mouth. He would rub his eyes. Eventually would cry, and he would have a high-pitched cry. You'll recognize over time like your different cries. For when he's hungry is like a yeah cry, so yeah. Now he'll straight up bite my shoulder. He'll straight up put his head in my chest. So they'll let you know if I miss cues, they'll cry. So you'll be able to know when your baby is hungry, because ultimately they'll let you know, like I said. Another big question that a lot of moms have that I had was, how long should my baby feed for? Because there's apps I used to have and I still have that I talked about in my day in the life of a newborn video that keep track of when they eat, when you pump, when they sleep, when they poop and pee. That was really helpful at first. The timer just gives you kind of anxiety of how long they should be eating, or this like thing of they should be eating a certain amount of time. Yes, but anyways, there is no like set time. Obviously there's times that people say they should be feeding, like when you're a newborn. The comparison is very different from how long and what it's like to feed a newborn compared to what it's like to feed a 7-month-old. When he was a newborn, he would feed for like 45 minutes to an hour just because they fall asleep a lot. Other one. and you have to like keep them awake, rubbing their head, touching them, touching their feet, touching their hands, just to let them know that they need to be awake to feed. And yes, there's gonna be times where you misjudge if they've had enough or if they've not. They'll just be hungry again. That happens. It happened to me a lot. It's just a learning process. You'll learn how long they are going to feed for. Now Bubba feeds for 10 minutes on each boob, sometimes less, depending on how hungry he is. If he feeds like super fast, your baby will know when they're done, and they'll let you know when they're done. Bubba just gets up and, you know, goes to play. And sometimes he is distracted. He'll just be hungry again before he goes to sleep. You just have to pay attention to your children. In different stages, it is harder. Sometimes it's easier. My favorite month was 5 months because he wasn't mobile yet and he wasn't really that interested in toys yet. He just could play with one and be completely fine. He didn't want to explore absolutely everything, and he was sleeping good. So that was definitely my favorite month. But there's different challenges in each month. So just go with it and you'll figure it out. All moms figure it out. And don't stress yourself out too much. Like I said, he would just be hungry again if he gets distracted. So here we are before his nap time. I'll also let you know when they want to switch boobs, like he just did. This top shelf is literally all milk, and then there's like a bunch over here. But I wanted to take a little time while Bubba's sleeping to talk about storing breast milk. They do not tell you this at the hospital, and I feel like this is one of the things that they should write big, huge on your forehead when you leave the hospital, because this is so important to know what's good for your baby to drink, and ultimately you can smell it and you'll know, but you need to know how good it is in the fridge, how long you can store it in the freezer, how long it's good out. In the freezer, you can store it up to 6 months. After that, you need to throw it out. In the refrigerator, you can store it up to 4 days. Honestly, after you fill up a bag, put it in the freezer, because you're most likely not going to use it in those 4 days. Some people do have a nightly bottle, so in reality, you only need 1 bag of milk at a time. So if you have multiple, just stick them in the freezer and use them later. After pumping, your milk can be out up to 4 hours. If you're on the go, this is a really nice thing to have, is a cooler, so you can store it up to 24 hours in the cooler until you get home, or if you're traveling from one place to another, and then you can put it in the freezer. This is super helpful just so you can have milk supply, and I'll probably do another video on how I gained all this milk in just under like 9 weeks when Bubba was born, and I have been using it and storing more, but it's been a slower process now. And I also wanted to talk about the 3 stages of milk that I had no idea about for a very, very long time. They do tell you in the hospital, but you're so stuffed with information in those 3 days that you don't remember anything. That's why they give you so many papers, so you can go back and read them. When I got to my papers, I started reading about like everything that I needed to know. There's 3 stages of milk. This is not like super huge important to know, but it is important if you're worried about your milk in the first couple days. Your first milk that comes in is your colostrum. This is just a little bit, but it has a lot of substance to get your baby what they need just in a couple of drops. My baby maybe had a syringe filled for a couple days, and while he was in the hospital, maybe a couple drops. It's really not a lot of milk that they need in the first couple days because their tummy is so small. So don't be alarmed if your baby's not drinking ounces at first. That's normal. And this is like the most thick milk that you will have, the most nutritious milk that you'll have. It gives them their antibodies when they're first coming out because they're exposed to the world and they haven't been yet. So milk is like super important. Then you have your transitional milk, which comes in like 3 or 4 days, I believe, or 5 after your colostrum comes in. This milk is exactly what it sounds like. It's your transition from colostrum to mature milk, and this is like a yellowy substance, and it's more than colostrum. Also very nutritious, keeps giving your baby antibodies. I don't know a lot about it, but I know that's exactly what it sounds like. And then 3 is your mature milk, which is whenever your milk fully comes in, and this can take up to 10 days to happen. This is now fully all the milk that your baby will need, and this is also around the time where your baby will start drinking ounces. And you'll have like 1 ounce for a while, maybe 3, and so on and so on. This is exactly also what it sounds like, your mature milk. This is not, again, super important to know, but if you are worried about it, it is very good information to know. I liked knowing about it just so I know what's happening to my body, because that's the type of person that I am. But just took a 3-hour nap. He slept terrible last night, like I said. He made up for it. I wanted to talk a little bit about latching. This was something that I was so confused about. I didn't know how to do. And a lot of moms just, it takes forever. Honestly, stick it out for 2 weeks and I guarantee that you will get it. And either way, you're gonna get it at some point, regardless of how long it does take you. Just be patient with yourself and patient with your baby. You're both learning. It's a very new thing. And I thought when Bubba was born, I could just know how to do it. There would be no issues breastfeeding just because it's so natural, and my mom did it for me and both of my sisters. So I thought, oh, it'll be fine. But it's a learned thing. After your first child, I'm sure it's better the second time and you know how to do it and you don't really go through that painful stage. Speaking of painful, breastfeeding is not supposed to be painful. If it is, there's something going on that's wrong. You might have a tongue tie, lip tie, or something like that. Something is wrong and you guys should go see a lactation consultant. There will be this stage of it being painful, yes, because you're learning. My boobs were bleeding and it was just really painful. But it shouldn't be like that for very long. Another part that could be painful is mystitis, and this is something that they again should write on huge letters on your forehead before you leave the hospital, that mystitis is a thing. I had no idea about mystitis until one of my friends brought it up, and then I got it like 2 weeks later. I got it because Bubba, when he was around 3 months old, he was sleeping for like 8 hours at night. I didn't know that I could potentially get mystitis. I didn't know I should pump maybe once before going to bed, and then like 4 hours later, and then he would feed 4 hours later. That's what I should have done. That was something that I had to learn after I got mystitis. Definitely do your research on breastfeeding because there's so many things that go on. But other than that, breastfeeding should not be painful at all. If it is, there's something wrong, like I said, and you should go see a doctor, a lactation consultant. Ow! Bit me. But mystitis is a clogged duct. The only thing that you can do is feed, which is very painful to do if you have a clogged duct, or pump, which is also very painful to do. I pumped like every single hour when I had it. Super painful, but I had to do it and I just worked through it. It does make you like full body, full blown tired. Talk to your lactation consultants. You got this. Boo, 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 boo. On occasion, we do have some screen time, so we're watching Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs and eating some yogurt. I kind of feed Bubba some yogurt while he's watching just so he can get a little treat, snack, and we kind of just do that as a little fun thing because I don't really like to have him have screen time very much. It is about 3:12. Bubba's probably gonna take his next nap here in a second. I think we might have to go to my room for him not to be distracted by literally everything. Okay, let's try this again, baby. I wanted to take a second to talk about positions because whenever I started learning that Bubba was a very spitty baby, I had to learn different positions. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking. Been so grumpy lately. He's going through a leap, so we're having a rough time. You want to read a book? But like I was saying, I had to find different positions to feed in, and it was actually really hard to do sometimes because Bubba had to feed upright. That's really hard with a newborn because they can't hold their head up. Sometimes on my leg, holding his head just like this. You're not doing anything wrong per se. Find out what works for you as an individual and what works for you and your baby. There will be positions that are uncomfortable, there'll be positions that are comfortable, others that just don't work, and others that do. There's tons of positions that you can look up online, and some you wouldn't even think about. There's no right way to position your baby's feed. So Bubba is eating one of these rice husks right now before dinner, so he can chew on something while we're making dinner, and some shredded cheese. Alrighty guys, we just ate dinner, so I wanted to talk about nutrition a little bit. There are certain things that you shouldn't be eating while you are breastfeeding. At the beginning, look up on Google or talk to your lactation consultant about what things could affect your breast milk. There are some spices like mint, I think a couple others that can actually make your breast milk reduce and even possibly dry up, so definitely do research on that. There are medications that can do that, and all kinds of things that you can put in your body that might reduce your breast milk. Nutrition has a huge part to play in. Some people say it doesn't and that it doesn't affect your child. Obviously that's not true because that's where they get their nutrition from. So everything that you consume they are getting. So that's how I found out that Bubba was lactose intolerant, and that's how I found out that broccoli gives him lots of gas. So there's a list on Google that I got from, and I tried out different things for like 3 days to see what bothered him, what didn't. Eating healthy can boost your milk can boost your milk supply, so just kind of do your research, but nutrition is a big part. We usually do a bottle after bath time, and I usually get him dressed, but he really wanted the boob after, so here we are. Finishing in here so he doesn't get distracted. See what I can film tonight. I had a couple more things I wanted to talk about, so I will catch you guys in just a second. I have to be a little quiet because Bubba's in the next room. I just took a shower, washed my face, and I feel relaxed again. I did feed Bubba one more time after I put him down for bed. We're still working on the last night feeding and not needing it. He will feed at his nap times. Like right before we'll read a book, and he'll usually just go right to sleep within like 5 minutes. His night time has been a little more difficult to get him in that routine. Anyways, that's for another video. Another worry that I had was, will my milk be enough? Yes, your milk will be enough. I've heard moms say they just don't get full and things like that. And usually it's the mom who's uncomfortable because they're new at this. Your milk supply has dropped, or the way that they're feeding, and just different things like that. There can be a lot of factors, but essentially you will have enough milk. Whenever you feed, your body gets on a schedule of feeding. When the baby feeds, you will actually feel your milk drop. That action, it's telling your mind, okay, the baby's feeding and I need to give them more milk. Over time, your body will just recognize how much and how long they're feeding for. When you get your milk in, you're engorged because your body doesn't know how much milk that it needs to make because it doesn't know how much they're eating yet. Let's say you feed every 2 hours, your body will make milk every 2 hours, and you'll feel a letdown. When you get into, I think, around 4 or 5 months, you have to be feeding for letdown to happen. What I do when I feel like I don't have enough milk is I keep switching boobs when he gets upset. That's worked for us. Some kids won't latch at all. They'll just be like, no, I don't want it because there's no milk. You will have enough milk. There are very rare cases where a mom cannot breastfeed. Just don't be anxious about it. That also can really affect your milk supply. I know it's like so hard, but your body is perfect. Your body knows exactly what to do. And And the more you are anxious about it and have anxiety around breastfeeding, the less milk you'll have, because stress also can reduce milk supply, so can anger and different things like that. I know for me, when I'm stressed, my milk supply does go down. For me, not to be stressed is way better for him. So I've just been reading, praying, and doing all the things to help me personally not feel stressed. You can do the same thing. Another big thing that I had questions about was, how often do I need to feed my baby? When can I tell this before they start screaming, crying? When you first give birth, there's a cluster feed, and that's like every 30 minutes basically, and then it'll go to just like on demand for a couple months, and then you get around like 3-4 months and there's an actual schedule, which is probably going to be like every 2 hours. You'll get a hang of how often your baby needs to feed. All this has a lot to do with just you guys learning each other and learning breastfeeding, because like I said, breastfeeding is a lot and you'll just figure it out as you go. But these are some tips that can help you guys go a little easier in it and just not be worried as much. This was a worry for me at the beginning because I would feed him and then he would be hungry again in 30 minutes. Perfectly normal, because we are humans, we make some mistakes, and we can't really tell sometimes if they got a full feeding, and that's because they're newborns and they fall asleep literally all the time. Eventually, in the newborn stage, which doesn't last very long, you'll figure out how much they eat. At night, I feed maybe once or twice, and as a newborn, you should be waking your baby up every 4 hours if they do sleep through the night to feed, because your baby needs that to gain weight and all of that. If your baby doesn't sleep through the night, then Saturday. This looked absolutely terrible last night. I think I got first night feeding on the monitor and I fell asleep. After that, he woke up like every single hour. Felt at like 2 and then 3, and then I did not keep track anymore. Didn't wake up at 5 a.m. again because I'm exhausted. I also forgot my water, so I wasn't drinking water last night. I probably picked one of the worst times to make this video, but I like when you guys see like the raw and real side of like what's hard, and this is the hard part about breastfeeding. But it's definitely worth it. I know that I'm feeding my baby the best thing that I can feed him. Some final thoughts for you guys and advice. I don't have that much experience, but I learned a lot doing it. Don't be hard on yourself. Be patient with your body and be patient with your baby. They're learning, you're learning. You'll get it. You're a strong mom. You'll absolutely get it. Go with it and stick it out, because it's so worth it. Breastfeeding is the best thing that you can do for your baby. Also, don't be hard on yourself if you have to use formula. There were times where I felt like I didn't have enough milk, or my milk supply dropped for different reasons, and I had to supplement with formula. That is okay. When you're on the go, it's okay to give your baby formula. Some people are completely against formula, and that's fine. Just don't be hard on yourself as a mom. We already feel a lot of mom guilt, so just be easy on yourself and go with it. Go with what works for your family and go with what works for you. It's a lot easier said than done. At the end of the day, they're gonna look at you when they're older and be like, I wish you breastfed me, mom, or I wish you fed me formula, mom. It doesn't make that big of an impact. That's also not the point. The point is that one is scientifically better than the other and gives your baby more nutrition and antibodies and literally everything that they need. I hope this video was informational to you guys and you're having the best holidays in the whole entire world. I'll put some videos for you guys to watch next, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.